This is Timothy Miller with Speak Memory, and you are listening to As the Story Grows.
Welcome to the next chapter of As the Story Grows. I'm Brian Patton. To close out 2021, I'm so excited to finally share my interview with Tim Miller from post-rock band Speak Memory. Tim and I chatted back at the beginning of May before the band released their latest EP, Adirondack. After that, my interview schedule got super busy and I couldn't find the right place to get this interview out. Too much flying by the seat of my pants and not enough scheduling releases. Adirondack is an incredible EP, and fans of Unwed Sailor, Saxon Shore, and American football, to name a few, will want to give it a spin. Tim talks about his musical history, the early collaboration with Bartees Strange, and music as an emotional outlet. Tim told me the band will be releasing new music throughout 2022, so give them a follow and be on the lookout for new tunes in the new year. I hope you guys enjoy getting to know Tim Miller from Speak Memory.
I'm from California, which I was born in the northern part of California in Redding. So was out there until I was 7, and then I moved out to Oklahoma.
What took your family to Oklahoma?
My dad was working with the post office at the time.
Okay.
And he got a position in Oklahoma that was just a better schedule for him to spend time with the kids and with the wife. So he was like, I'd rather be there for my kids than not, because he was working overnight when we were out in California. So we hardly saw him except for whenever we were going to school.
Gotcha. What was growing up like outside of your dad working overnight those early years?
Well, a lot of it's kind of a blur at this point.
Yeah.
I think once I got to 7 or 8, and had already been living in Oklahoma, I'd say I still have memories beginning at that point, and just it being me trying to adjust being around people in Oklahoma at that time.
What got you into music?
Man, that's a tough one. Because it's kind of strange. I think, once I hit 9 or 10, I was listening to a lot of what was on the radio that my mom was listening to at the time. There was like a lot of Amy Grant playing on the radio. So stuff like that, and like old school R&B music, like soul from the 60s and 70s. That would be for my dad's collection. So like Marvin Gaye, Tammy Terrell, those kind of recordings. And then 13 came along, and I started getting into a lot of punk rock and hardcore music.
Nice.
Mostly on the Christian spectrum of things. And I would say that period helped shape my musical taste and what I would ultimately be into growing up.
Yeah. What were those like first few records that really made an impact on you?
MXPX Life in General and Goaty Hook's Banana Man.
Hell yeah. Those are good ones.
Yeah, it's a strange contrast to like what I do musically, but I mean, if not for those records, I probably wouldn't have picked up a guitar and did my thing at the time.
Yeah. Was guitar the first instrument you wanted to play?
Yeah, I'd say it was. It's a tie between that and bass, and
Okay.
and I actually remember playing on the bass more than the electric guitar because my brother played bass at the time, and that's how I got into, aside from those albums, that was another reason why I got to wanting to play music and to pick up an instrument, was because of my brother.
Yeah.
So I would sneak into his room, play on his bass when he wasn't home, and him beating me up once he found me playing on his bass. But yeah, so like guitar, electric guitar, bass. I'd say it was a tie, like those two instruments I wanted to play at the very beginning.
Nice. Was your brother hugely influential in your musical trajectory? Like, were you started playing in bands with him or joining his band, or were you on your own path?
Yeah, we played in a few bands earlier on. One of which is pretty epic. It was like a death metal band. Him and a mutual friend of ours, Rob, were doing. We had no drummer though.
Wow.
But what's kind of weird about it though was there was a local musician in the area who was looking for a band to play with his band in Cannibal Corpse. And me being 13, I'm like, I've never heard of Cannibal Corpse. but we didn't go further into like asking our parents if we could play, because it's like we don't have a drummer, so we can't do anything right now.
Yeah.
But man, that would have been an odd show to tell people, like had we had gone through with that.
There's always that random show you play where like you end up on and you're like, how did we end up here?
Those were the good old days when someone would just like ask you, hey, you want to play this show? And you don't have to go through the hoops or anything. Like, oh, here's the EPK kit that we have with like everything you need to know about us. It's just like, oh, want to jump on.
Yeah. Outside that, did you continue to play in bands like through high school and beyond?
Yeah, I had a band for the last couple of years in high school, which was in hindsight not that great. We gained a pretty decent buzz around town when we were playing, so I can't really discount that period too much. And then after that, I played in another band for about a year during college, and then just kind of put music to the side until after I graduated from college, and that's around the time that Speak Memory came about.
Yeah. Were you connected and involved in the music scene there in Oklahoma? Were you aware of what was happening in the state and in like Oklahoma City?
Yeah. Maybe a little more than most people. I always like to know who's playing around and what venues to go to that had the best shows coming through. So I'd like to think I was pretty well versed with growing up in the music scene here.
Well, you mentioned Speak Memory. How did this project start?
It started Um, a little after graduating from college and wanting to get back into actually writing songs again. Because there was a period where I was so focused or reliant on my effects pedals that
Yeah.
I was just kind of playing like one or two notes and then just letting this like long drone go for however many minutes. And and I didn't want to do that anymore. I actually wanted to write actual chords and seem like I knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of, and what kind of inspired me was going back on some early records, like American Football, LP1, like Mineral, Christie Front Drive, all the stuff that I had gotten into like in high school, but just kind of forgot about it once I got into college and was focusing on that. But also some of the newer stuff at the time inspired me. Like the first time that I heard TTNG's Animals album, um, that really had a huge impact on me and made me want to be better at guitar and to try to write something similar to what it was they were doing on that record.
Yeah.
Whenever I got the desire to want to play out again, did a post looking for musicians. We had like a local board that people could post on, and I found a couple of guys through there. JT, our drummer, or who's still our drummer now, and Bartees Strange, who is now doing his own. He's on a whole other level than a lot of us are right now. And got to play with him during those early years. We only got to do a couple of shows before he ended up moving to the East Coast for a job he had at the time. But we became really good friends from that experience, and not a whole lot of people that I can say that I just hang out in their room listening to the new Joan of Arc album, and just talking about politics and funny stories, that sort of thing.
I'm curious if there was ever this idea or drive to have a vocalist, or if you were always drawn to doing instrumental music. If anytime you're like, maybe it'd be cool to have a vocalist and be more American Football or Algernon or whatever.
Yeah. It's funny. Like, we've always wanted to have vocals in the music, and during the earlier years when Bartees was in the band, we had a vocalist during that period. But they ended up parting ways, and we primarily became an instrumental band because I was finding it hard to sing while, playing how I play on guitar. Like one thing or the other, like it just messes up. So we stuck primarily as an instrumental band. But with this recent release, I wanted to try to about adding vocals, and by doing that also figuring out, well, how can I add these without one part of the music like without like one part of the music, like the quality declining. So I feel like we're getting closer to figuring that out, and adding the vocals to one of the songs on the new EP helps us, get to where we need to be as far as that goes.
Yeah, this is your first release since 2014. Why the hiatus in between?
It's a lot of personal life stuff.
Okay.
So it's yeah. I'll say this: if I had my way, we probably would have put out a full length either the following year or 2016, like after that first EP. Because I had I had it in mind as far as like the plan as to what we were going to release and how we would go about it, and they got derailed, but that's okay because kind of because where we're at right now, I feel like we're made to be in this moment. Like I like to think we're wiser, we're better at our instruments, and it just things happen for a reason, and I'm glad that they're where they're at now.
Yeah, the this EP compared to Value to Survival, like it feels mathier and a little more structured. Like you can hear the growth on it. So,
well, I'm happy to hear that. That was kind of my fear going into this was, will it appear like we had any kind of growth? Because like I know that we know like we've grown and we've had some things that we couldn't do before. Whether other people notice that's completely different thing.
Yeah. Did COVID affect the release of this and getting it out?
It did. But we were going to put it out last May. And yeah, whenever COVID really took hold of the country, like last March, I was pretty much like, I'm kind of more concerned about living as opposed to putting something out. So I'm just gonna focus on not getting sick, and we'll see what happens. But we were gonna put it out last May. That didn't happen because of COVID. Or if COVID hadn't had happened, I know one of the other guys had a health issue that kind of kept them from playing for some time. They're 100% better now, so we should all rejoice in that. But yeah, like 2020 was just trying to keep us from going further. I felt like just one thing or the other was thrown at us. But if something like that didn't happen, it wouldn't be Speak Memory.
Yeah,
because there's always something that goes on.
Yeah, were you guys already connected with Clear Story?
Yeah, to a degree. Our bassist Cody, he's friends with a lot of the bands who have put out recordings on Clear Story, and I didn't know Chris until Chris from Clear Story until 2019. Whenever I messaged him and was like, "Hey, we follow each other on social media. I was seeing how you go about working with bands because I didn't know if it was like a regular sign kind of deal or if it was just like special releases that he does." And we started talking a little more in depth, and told him the ideas that I had and the goals that I had set for the new EP, and he kind of gave his backstory and what he had hoped to accomplish with Clear Story, and we just went from there. And I feel like we've grown closer as the months go by, and find like a lot of things I didn't think we had much in common with. About like I think a few weeks ago we were talking to each other, and he brought up Starflyer 59.
Nice.
And we talked about Starflyer for like 15, 20 minutes. I guess like there's a Starflyer show that I went to that he was at as well, which, I mean, that's the story, you know, with a lot of people, like, oh, I was at that show that you were at.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, with someone like Starflyer or Saker, like just a lot of these bands that you don't really hear that much about, depending on who you're talking to. Like, hearing that like someone else was at the same show as you, like one of those shows, that's, I don't know, for me that means the world to me. Like, oh, I have something to connect with this group.
In your blurb about the record, you said Adirondack specifically focuses on varying elements of nature and how the volatility of it all often reflects our current economic and political climate. It feels like you're trying to say more than just like, here are these pretty instrumental songs. Like, what do these songs in this EP mean to you?
The songs in the EP to me mean, I like just trying to get through the day, if not the week or the month, and keeping an optimistic view on life, because at the time that we were recording, it was like December 2019, a lot had already happened up to that point that just kind of made me a little, well, not a little, it made me sick to my stomach just to kind of see how things were going in America at that time, and how they're going now. And I think there's a sense of wanting to be better and wanting to maintain like a sense of morality when interacting with other people, but also wanting to escape all of that for a day or two, to just balance things out and to make sense of the craziness of the world. So when I wrote these songs, it was also during kind of a hectic time in my life where, you know, one of my dogs passed away from a very rare blood disorder, that even the vets were like, yeah, we don't know what to do. And then my grandmother passed away not shortly after. So for me personally, it was just trying to navigate through like all these awful things going on in my life, as well as all the awful things going on in the world, and trying to maintain like a sense of saneness, and to try to come out of this more wise, and hopefully making an impact on whoever it is that I interact with.
Yeah. Outside of like telling people, when you write instrumental music like this, are you hoping people just enjoy it, or are you hoping they feel whatever it is you're trying to convey musically, like what your thoughts and feelings through the music, as like somebody might with lyrics express vocally these frustrations or these pains and this grieving and hope that you're trying to do instrumentally?
I hope that, I mean, definitely I hope they enjoy it. Because if they don't enjoy it, then that hurts our hearts.
Right.
But you know, everyone's entitled to, you know, what they want to listen to and all that. Yeah. So, but outside of that, once they enjoy it, hopefully hopefully we're able to instill a sense of hope in people, that things will get better.
Yeah.
And if you just keep focused, and do what you need to do to navigate through things, then things will get better. And I hope that that comes across in the music, even without words and that sort of thing. Like hopefully, like just the presentation of how we're playing the music, like invokes these emotions inside people.
Thanks for listening to As the Story Grows. Our intro music was written and composed by Jeremy Hunt. The As the Story Grows theme is by Bob Nana. If you like what you hear, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and give us a rating and review. If you'd like to support the show financially, you can join us at patreon.com/asthestorygrows. Be a part of our community and join the ongoing conversation over on Discord. If you enjoy this episode, share it on social media with your friends. Much appreciated, and thanks for listening.
I never felt so young and alive as when I'm diving into a tune. And now I'm learning as I listen along, and the wheels are turning, and I started a song. One good word and I'm gone. Oh, as the story grows, the more I wanna know, the more I wanna show you. As the story grows, as the story grows. You can create something lasting and great, something passionate and real. And I'll bring in my own good feelings, I'll sing it with meaning. Let's just attack it and never look back. It's wild and fantastic. All together at full power, we're so much better. What's that word?